Welcome back to the Cruise Dynasty podcast. We are back at it again. I got another beer in me. I got the Craft Man with me. We talking rookies. What's going on, Craft Man?
Oh, I'm just feeling good, feeling great. How are you? You feeling good?
I'm feeling good. Copy that. 10-4. Yeah, man, we just gonna break down some more of these rookies, doing what we've been doing. Me and Craftman trying to dish out these rookie profiles so at least y'all can have an idea of who we even taking in these rookie drafts. You know what? It's funny, Craftman, because I got a lot of friends and we're deep into dynasty football, right? There's some leagues out there that got people playing that ain't deep in it like we are. You know, they could care less about some of these rookie profiles, and to me, I laugh. I just laugh at it.
Yeah, it does. It does upset me a little bit when I talk to some of my friends, and I'm like, man, I've been watching this rookie tape, and like this guy, and I'm like, what you gonna do? When you gonna look at it? And they're like, I'm just gonna draft who's ever there. Like,
Yeah,
and they'll probably end up with some beast-ass players, you know.
probably. Like if you weren't listening, I'll just put it like this: if you didn't listen to me and Craftman last year, you probably ended up with C.J. Stroud, and you probably ended up with Anthony Richardson, all these good ass players. Oh man,
championships though, we got them.
Rings on top of rings. We got the Cruise Dynasty podcast has rings, and we about to put me and you about to co-manage. We about to get into a league right here and really win us some rings. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Craft Man?
I feel like I do agree. We're definitely gonna win the little podcast startup, and we're gonna win that league real quick because I don't know what you plan on doing, but shit, we're going for it first year. I mean,
I'm with it.
You just gonna have to go with me because I'm gonna be talking about them veterans.
Hey, I'm all for it.
Conner, though, right here, James Conner over Kendre Miller for sure. Don't even question it. We're going for it.
Me and Craft Man just talking a little talk, man. Because hey, you know, Craft Man, I still been keeping up startup drafts. I love me some start. In fact, even though we're doing these episodes, I'm just going to tell y'all, me and Craft Man, we're gonna do an episode. Well, we're gonna go through the ADP, and we're just gonna talk about some Superflex ADP. But with that said, rookies. Another episode tonight. We got Brian Thomas Jr. We got Keon Coleman, Lad McConkey, and Roman Wilson, your boy. So
I like Roman Wilson.
I'll just go ahead and say it now because I forget all the time. But 5-star review, add the podcast, and just tell your buddy get him in a fantasy football. Man, he might like it too. Show him the podcast. Me and the Craft Man, we like to break it down. Craft Man, you ready to go ahead and get started?
Let's do it.
First one on the list, Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. LSU, which stands for Loser State University.
Hey, while you talk all that shit, I saw a stat the other day. Since 2001, the teams that have been in the Super Bowl, so you're talking 22 years, had a player from LSU or Georgia. That's a lot of teams. Just
I heard that.
I didn't hear Clemson in there. I just saw LSU and Georgia was part of them Super Bowl teams in 2020.
We're just poor little old Clemson, and when what I say to all those, it's like all those teams, all those years, and the minimal success that those two programs have had.
Who?
Georgia and LSU.
Georgia got two daddies in the last 3 years. That's perfectly fine.
That's just recent. You said 32 teams. I'm talking about 32 years of, or whatever you said.
How many teams? I'll take 2 championships in 32 years. I take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
And talks of lifetime span, I would, because if the Falcons just got one, I would just die of happiness, man. Just die of happiness. 60+ years.
Now, I tell you, they ain't got nothing to talk about on NFL Network now. They're already talking about Super Bowl contenders next year, and they got the Packers up there. I'm like, shut that shit down. I don't want to be. I agree that it could happen, but I like to be
Yeah.
I like to kind of be in the weeds a little bit.
I'm
I
with
want
you, Packers.
to be in the weeds. I don't want them to be the team that should make it to the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Right.
The
Hey,
Cowboys every
I'm
year.
with it though, because the Packers were one of my cash cows this year. So man, I can't wait for football next year. We're gonna have something gambling wise for everybody. Crap man's gonna come with the prop bets, and me and the poor man gonna come with the game lines. We just gonna make some money next year. But wait, but what are we doing? We talking all kinds of junk, man. Let's go ahead and get on these little rookies. Another wide receiver episode. Breaking down some wide receiver rookies. Brian Thomas Jr., 6'4", 205. He's ass, Kraft. He's ass. That's all. I'm just kidding, Kraft, man. I like Brian Thomas Jr. too, but I will say this: I saw a lot of debate of who was going to be at the 108, and it was mainly talk about Troy Franklin and Brian Thomas Jr. And I will admit, I like Brian Thomas Jr. maybe even less than a few of these guys, to be honest with you. Not to say he was bad. He's super fast, got a lot of speed, but really only had that one little breakout year. Or he's only had one good year pretty much. But I guess I have to say that about all these LSU guys. Jaden Daniels, I mean, what did he do 2 years ago? You know what I'm saying? Like all these teams just kind of all these guys kind of burst on the scene a little bit, but 68 receptions, 1,177 yards, and 17 touchdowns.
17 touchdowns.
Which is ridiculous. But with that said, I can't be all negative. I still like Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, I just think if I could get him at the 111, I'll take him at the 111 instead of taking him at the 108. And that's all I'm going to say about Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's really good.
I don't.
I mean, I think he's good. You know what I'm saying? I think all these guys are good. Go ahead, Kraft.
All right. One thing I got to say about Brian Thomas, and I'm willing to be wrong about this one. This will be the time we look back at it next year and say, you're an idiot. Brian Thomas is great. Brian Thomas is a man beater. He's a go route runner. He's a cross route runner. And he's a post runner. All he does is run 3 routes. And they're all man beaters. And that's all he can do. He's not a smart. I don't feel like he's a smart receiver who can really succeed in the NFL, to tell you the truth. The way the defenses have changed in the NFL, it just doesn't suit this kind of guy for me. If it was 10 years ago, and I could go off of just size and athleticism, because it's all off the charts. But if you go and look at his tape, it's all go routes. That's it.
Yeah.
And this is one guy that I will say that is a one-trick pony. He lets the ball get in on his pads way too much. He doesn't use his hands. He doesn't have strong hands, but he's extremely athletic. So don't let me completely talk you out of drafting this guy. You're going to do what you're going to do anyway. But for me, I just feel like he's going to be that kind of one-trick pony. Like, you get a Gabe Davis out of this guy, you're going to be extremely happy, is my opinion. And I didn't even come up with that comp a couple weeks ago. I just came with that comp right now, and that's what I feel like he is. It's just he can catch. I mean, he's got extreme athletic ability, but you're playing with a team where Jaden Daniels just won a Heisman. You got Malik Neighbors on the other side who is pulling defenders his way, and Brian Thomas had no production. He was 0 before this past season.
Right.
And he's just the receiver I'm off of, but I don't blame anybody for taking him because the upside is still there. I'm not saying that he doesn't have it, but as a full-blown receiver who has all the traits that make a good receiver, I don't like what he does on the field. I just like his physical ability.
Right. So, Kraft, man, no debate. Brian Thomas Jr. putting him near Troy Franklin. No debate.
No, I think Torrey Franklin has a little bit extra than Brian Thomas has. I think Brian Thomas, like I said, one trick pony. And Torrey Franklin can. I'm not saying Brian Thomas, if he gets right in the right system with a good receivers coach and good coaching, that he can't train, be a different kind of receiver. He can't.
Right.
He can learn how to run routes better and learn how to, perform against zone defense. But from what I've seen of him, is it was just Malik Neighbors on one side where the attention was going to him, and Brian Thomas was running go routes, and he's just so fast and lanky and just that's what he is. That's what he is to me. I don't see a receiver when I watch Brian Thomas. I just see an athlete.
And with that said, me and the Craft Man, we ain't hating on Brian Thomas Jr. And we do like Brian Thomas Jr. But I just think about this, Craft Man. Like, you would rather take Brian Thomas Jr. at the 112, the 201, the 202, something like that, than say the 108. That's pretty much where I stand. And if I was getting somebody like this at the back of the first, beginning of the second round, I'd be pretty happy with it, to be honest.
And I mean, I talked all that shit about Brian Thomas. I got him ranked at number 7. He's still above Lad McConkey and Roman Wilson. Even though I love them guys and I like what they do on the field, it just depends on what you're looking to draft. Because if we had, I was talking to Noah about this a little earlier, if we had like a risk-reward ranking, he would be a 4 on the risk, but a 4 on the reward for me. Lad McConkey would be like a 2 on the risk and a 3 on the reward. Right. Because you just can't get that type of play out of a guy like Lad McConkey. But you can out of Brian Thomas. It just depends on where he lands. He's going to have to be, and I want to emphasize this about Brian Thomas, he has to be a number 2. He cannot be a number 1.
Yep, I think I echo everything you just said, Craft Man. The next guy we're going to talk about. Anything you want to say about Brian Thomas before we move on?
I've seen him mocked pretty late to like the Texans, and that would be absolutely, it'd be all right. I was about to say incredible, but that's where he needs to be. He needs to be like the number 2, number 3 type guy.
Next we got Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman is the most I've seen him ranked as high as wide receiver 4. I've seen honestly, mostly, Craft Man, I see a lot of Keon Coleman hate, and I think 6'4", 215. I think the truth is coming from Florida State. He played basketball at Michigan State and football at Michigan State. Came over to Florida State, and I think it's just obvious this dude, athletic wise, is top notch. He's just super raw. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like you can say that about a lot of players.
Exactly.
NFL, though.
But the reason why I see a lot of Keon Coleman hate on a line and stuff like that. But the reason why I don't hate him as much is think about where you're getting this guy in rookie drafts. Like, even his upside is like 111, 112. We're talking about a back of the first round. Even if you like Keon Coleman a lot, you're probably getting him in the back of the first. But you can probably catch this guy almost close to mid-second, almost around that 204, 25 range. So
some people really like him. I've seen a lot of podcasts, a lot of people ranking him as the number 4.
Yeah. He's super way up there. He's way up there and he's way down there. I don't even know what to think about a Craft Man. This is like the most volatile player to even think of. I know A.D. Mitchell has some of that, in my opinion, but Keon Coleman is the main one this year. Last year he had 50 receptions, 658 yards, 11 touchdowns. Made a bunch of highlight plays. I mean, he made a couple highlight plays versus LSU in week 1, and people was like, "This is my wide receiver." I ain't even gonna lie, Craft Man. I've seen some people saying this is like my wide receiver too, Keon Coleman, blah blah blah. After 1 week of college football,
because his highlight reel is incredible, but
insane.
His college production is not. if you go look at his college production, it's not good. If you go look at his highlight reel, it's like you're looking at God on a football field.
Right. Like, in my opinion, like he can run the route tree. He doesn't look great doing it.
I don't feel like he can.
I think he could run it, but I just don't think looks good doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like me and you are kind of on the same page on Coleman. I don't really hate him. I love the upside. I think he'd be as good as any of these guys. But my favorite thing about Keon Coleman is I'm sitting here saying it because you keep seeing, like you see, I feel like you're probably seeing a lot more of him being ranked higher. I think today I've been seeing a lot more of him being ranked lower. I just like him. Think about what you could get, Keon Coleman, and what you're getting in the early second, back of the first.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I mean, think about who we were getting last year. Like we're talking about QJ at the 1.7, Zay Flowers at the 1.8. You know what I'm saying? Like we're talking about a deep class at wide receiver. So
yeah,
can't hate on the man.
You got a couple positive things to say about him. I mean, his hands are great. I mean, he can make the contested catches. He doesn't drop open passes, but he just don't have a lot of nuance in his routes at all. I mean, he just goes out there and he's just an athlete. And the thing that gets me, and we talked about it last year about George Pickens, and it's all right to be a contested catch guy,
right?
But it's also another thing when you get in the NFL and you can't create a lot of separation, no matter how good of an athlete you are. I mean, DK Metcalf's the best athlete in the NFL. He still can't create a lot of separation, even though he runs a 4.3, and he's the strongest guy on the field.
Yeah.
So I don't blame anybody for taking that pick, like you said, at the late first round, because his risk is really high, but his reward is incredibly high too. Because all it takes is him getting on a team who, the coaching is right, and he can grow as a receiver. He's only 20 years old. So
what are we looking at here, Craftman? Day 2 draft capital?
Day 1.
Day 1?
2, I've seen him in the first round in NFL drafts. I've seen him in the second. But who knows, with a guy like this, he could fall in the draft or he could rise way up just based on athletic ability.
Right. I mean, I think me and you are both. It's funny, Craftman. I felt like last year we disagreed a lot on these rookies. I would say so far through these wide receivers, me and you were pretty much step by step.
I do have him way down though. Keon Coleman is my wide receiver.
Yeah. What is he, Craftman? Wide receiver what?
10.
So I haven't sat down and ranked all my guys out, but I will rank them out. And I feel like I kind of lean with you a little bit lower than higher. But it's like I said, I'm just not going to dismiss the upside. I'm really not going to dismiss any of these guys, but I'm not going to dismiss the upside on Keon Coleman. Ready to move on, Craftman, to the next one?
Yeah, we good.
Lad McConkey. I call him McConkey. Shout out. Gotta love a white wide receiver out there. Oh man, I'm just. But there they go, canceling the Cruise Dynasty podcast just like that, baby. You know what I'm saying? We got Lad McConkey out of Georgia, played with the Dogs, so we know we're gonna get a lot of love tonight. And honestly, you're gonna get a little bit of love from me. I love Lad McConkey. I've watched him play. See, down here in the South, I'm watching Clemson football, I'm watching Georgia Tech football, or I'm watching Georgia football. I'm watching one of these three teams all the time. Lad McConkey at 5'11", 187. Man, shout out to Lad. I just like hearing that 5'11", that type of stuff. Out there balling. So, Kraft, man, you probably saw him play as much as I did this year. He's always making plays. He's a smart football player. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I just think he's just a good football player. I'm not saying he's super fast, but he's definitely not slow, and he's always making plays. He's always making smart plays. Craft, man, what you got to say?
Well, what I got on Lad is you can look at his statistics. He's not really, the college production isn't incredible. In 2022, he went 30 for 478 and 2. 2020, now that was 2023, but he only played 8 games. He was banged up most of the year. But Really, what I can say is he's. I mean, I hate to say it, he's your typical slot wide receiver. He's
Yep.
he's got good top end speed and good acceleration, but he's really more just subtle and quick in the intermediate areas. He just knows how to get open, run out routes, slant routes, option routes, curl routes. He's good at all that. He's not really going to be your big play type of guy, even though, like I said, he does have decent top end speed, but it's not like people want to. I've heard a comp of Cooper Kupp, and I'm like, that's not even close. I don't understand. Cooper Kupp's 6'2", 208. Lad McConkey is 5'11", 185.
Right.
This guy is more like I don't even know, like a Zay Flowers, Wes Welker type kind of guy. So don't compare him to Cooper Kupp. You'll be severely disappointed if you draft Lad McConkey thinking that he could be Cooper Kupp. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen.
And really, Lad McConkey's picked up a lot of steam, especially put out a lot of highlight clips of his route running and stuff like that. The Senior Bowl, went out there and showed out at the Senior Bowl a little bit. And Lad McConkey's pretty much been just flying through as far as like fantasy football, super flex, mock straps. At first I would say he wasn't even on people's radar. Now, back in the second round is where I'm seeing old Lad McConkey mostly.
The regular NFL draft, or
I don't know about regular NFL draft. I haven't seen his stock.
I've seen him in the second.
In the second, so Lad McConkey's definitely picked up steam, and I've seen a few plays of him at the Senior Bowl, a few routes that he's ran, and he looks good.
Nobody can guard him.
Say what?
I said nobody can guard him.
Can't guard him, man. Can't guard him.
He's just one of them guys that just gets open, and I like them kind of guys, but the upside's not there. So I will say that, like, if you're looking for a flex play every week, or low end wide receiver too, that's your type of guy. But if you're looking for upside, you might want to draft these other guys. And I mean, like I said, I really like them, but sometimes you got to take risks. I don't have him ranked that high.
Right.
I talk a lot of shit about Brian Thomas. He's over Lad McConkey, even though I like Lad McConkey as a better NFL receiver. I think he'll be better for an NFL team that drafts him. But we're talking the fake shit, Matt.
Yep, the fake stuff, baby. But so basically,
good for the fake shit.
Basically, what we're saying about Lad McConkey, in my opinion, is it does depend on where he goes. I feel like from here on out, the guys we talk about now, it's just going to depend on where you go at your landing spot. And I don't know. All his negatives that I say about Lad McConkey are pretty much physically wise, about his body and him being weak, a weak-ass Georgia Bulldog player. Very skinny frame. He ain't able to
stay healthy neither. And he is not very special after the catch. So I will mention that whatever you get when he gets open and catches the ball, that's what you're most likely going to get out of Lad McConkey. He's just so small. He's not going to break a lot of tackles and run physically after the catch. That's not really who he is.
All right, so Craftman, we got to break down one more guy, and we'll go ahead and tell the people when I talked to you on the phone, this was one guy that you said you like. We were talking about guys that we'd like that I had not even watched him yet, and even still, I haven't went in super deep on him. But I've watched him. I've watched just little clips here and there, and I've read up on him a little bit. We're gonna talk about Roman Wilson out of Michigan, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this about those Michigan players. I think J.J. McCarthy and Roman Wilson, I think they're going to get drafted a little bit higher than what people are expecting them to think to get drafted, because these guys, they didn't really throw the ball that much. So I feel like people are looking at their production and they're kind of underestimating them. I think J.J. McCarthy's about to go pretty high in the draft, and I think Roman Wilson might go a little bit higher too. Yeah. Crap, man. Pretty much, I'm just going to let you tell me what you think, what you liked about Roman Wilson at 5'10 and a half, 186 pounds. Been making a lot of waves through his press conference at the Combine. Very confident. We'll put it like that. He's just a very confident guy. I don't know if you've seen any of them clips, Craftman. Just people just describe.
A little
Hey,
on and on, man. Just count down the receivers that got drafted ahead of you type receiver.
So, Crap Man, what you like about Roman Wilson?
I like everything about Roman Wilson, except for the incredible physical traits. He's not your AD Mitchell. He's not your Brian Thomas. He's none of these guys that just blow you off the charts with his physical ability. But he's just a quarterback's best friend. He's open on third downs. He finds a way to get open, and he's still got some good physical traits. I mean, he's got good top end speed, but he's not really a yards after the catch type of guy. But what I would say about Roman Wilson is he has the best hands in the entire class in this draft. I never once seen him come close to dropping a ball, and he catches everything with his hands. He doesn't let the ball get in on his pads. He's just a special route runner and just a special receiver that can get open when the quarterback needs him to. The upside might not be there, but I mean, I hate to throw this out there, but it could. It's like might be like a Keenan Allen type situation where he just destroys people on his routes. Is a quarterback's best friend, like I said, but I'm not saying he's Keenan Allen. He could also be Tyler Boyd.
Right.
Just a reliable target. And there's out of all the receivers we talked about, I'm about 100% sure that this guy will be on the NFL field week 1 as probably like the third wide receiver on an offense to start off.
Yep. Hey, Crabman, I agree with you. You might as well just mark him down as you're my guy. This is your guy because this is.
He's really just my guy on based on I don't think he's going to fail.
Right.
Not much of like he's going to be a league winner type pick. I just feel like he's not going to fail. I don't think you can miss with this pick completely, and I think you're going to have a lot of value in this pick come next year. But the upside's still limited. He's definitely not no Jamar Chase. He is nothing like them guys. He's more
he's a slot guy.
And he can play on the outside too. He's just a very savvy route runner and knows how to get open. There's always a guy in the draft where he's just always open, and I feel like that's Roman Wilson this year. He's going to be the quarterback's main target.
And I personally haven't been hearing too much buzz on Roman Wilson. We're probably, Craftman, we're talking about you can get Lad McConkey in the late second. With Roman Wilson, we're probably talking late second and the third round. So we're talking about a guy that you really like at a great value. I'm telling you, man, these draft picks are. It's so funny. I've heard all the talk about these draft classes the past years, and nobody really talked about hyping up the 24 class that much, but outside of quarterbacks. But man, this class is so deep. I just can't wait till the NFL draft and see where it goes. But Roman Wilson.
And you talked about Michigan didn't throw the ball much, but 12 touchdowns for Michigan at a receiver is pretty impressive. Yeah. And that just kind of goes with my point of just he's just a reliable target.
Yep.
That is just in the right place at the right time.
I echo those. I know I didn't dive in deep on him as much as you did, but Roman Wilson. So that episode right there, we got Roman Wilson, Lad McConkey, Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas Jr., 4 more breakdowns for your ass. Craftman, anything you want to say to our loyal fans out there, or anything you want to add on any of these players or anything before we go?
Nah, I think we covered the players, but for all our loyal fans, I appreciate y'all so much for sticking with us and listening. And we are just willing to have anybody on to talk with us. We just sit up here and chop up this shit. Anybody who wants to hop on, just let us know and get on the podcast with us. We don't care. We're just sitting here. I'm in the garage talking football.
I agree with everything Craftman just said. And Akil Galani, where you at, man? He's always deep in these rookies. We need to have him hop on an episode for us. And then maybe when we'll get somebody else on when we talk about some Superflex ADP or something like that, Craftman. But yeah, I'm with you, Craftman. It's the off season, especially when we get closer to redraft stuff. Need everybody on hopping on.
Yeah.
So
got to get some different opinions too on some of this stuff. Some people to argue with.
Right. I will say this: as far as so far through the wide receivers, me and Craftman have been pretty step by step, and we was really just watching on our own, doing our own thing, and then it's just how it worked out.
Yeah,
so,
we didn't really mention anything to each other about who we liked or who we didn't like. It was just, we hopped on the episode, and I told him before the episode, I don't want to know what your thoughts are on these guys. Just we'll figure it out as we go.
Right.
I don't know what you think about these players.
So with that said, 5-star review. Share the podcast to a friend. It's the off season, so which means for us, me and the Craftman of the Dynasty podcast, it's the season for us. We're gonna be dropping episodes whenever we can, especially these rookie profiles before the draft. I have a feeling we're gonna be able to get them all out, anyways. Even though there's a lot of players. So, Craftman, everybody else, all I gotta say is we out.
Peace.